Do y'all know that I didn't go to school that day?
Rick Avis was telling me about that you didn't go to school.
I was outside with my brother and the kids that live next door down here, not Lois's house, but the one across the pasture there. There was a boy and a girl down there. The boy was my age and the girl was my age too, but older than my brother. And they were fighting. You know how kids fight, just fighting. A brother and sister.
I can relate to that.
And I heard this voice, and it was a voice just like Ada spoke to me. Nobody else heard it. I just heard it, and it said, "Don't go to school today." So I kind of looked around, and nobody heard it but me, and nobody else there besides Mary Louise and O.C. fighting, my brother. And I looked at Joe, and I said, "I'm not going to school today." And he said, "Are you sick?" Because I never missed school. I was never sick or anything. I said, "No, just not going to school." And I turned around and walked back in the front door. And we were standing out there where this lane comes out into the highway. And I came back in the house, and the bus came, and everybody went to school except me. And when I opened the front door, Mama heard me open the front door, and she stuck her head out of the back bedroom. She was dressing to go to town. She said, "What's wrong? You sick?" "No." And she didn't question anything. She said, "I'm going to town shopping today. You want to go? I'm going to eat lunch with Francis and go to Miles this afternoon." That was my grandmother. So we did that, and Frances was a woman that had moved to town, but she used to live across the street.
Francis Conroy?
Uh-huh. And so Mama went shopping that day, bought my Easter dress, and I don't know what else she bought, probably shoes and stuff for her too. And then we went to Miss Conway's and ate lunch. We went to, Grandma was in the afternoon and stayed. Mama was always home when the bus passed. So she left down there in time to be here when the bus passed. And we got to Pittner's Junction. You know where that is? We got to Pittner's Junction and...
That was lightning.
Yes, it was.
Did it hit something?
My Lord.
That was real close.
Well, I was facing the light. I was facing the light.
Like a shotgun.
Maybe I saw it in the reflection.
You saw it in a reflection. I saw it back that way. Anyway, I said, "Something's burning over here this way." And Mama said, "Oh, I guess somebody set an old slush pit on fire." She hated slush pits. And when they'd burn them, you know, it just looked ugly and polluted the air. So we kept coming down the road 40 miles an hour, you know, in those days.
I think the sky just fell out.
Well, see if anything caught on fire. And about that time, ambulances and cars, traffic picked up, you know, because if you're up at Pittner's Junction, every road there goes near London or in that direction.
What time did the explosion take
About
place?
was it 3?
It was right before school was out. I don't remember exactly.
What time was the explosion?
318.
It was 318, 310, something like that.
Anyway, by the time we got home, traffic on the highway was almost bumper to bumper and speeding. And when
That
we
was
got
close.
here, the black people that worked here, there was a house down there where Donna
Scared
Roosevelt
Avis
was
about
called
to
the
wind
nigger
up
house.
turn white.
It was right here.
Yeah, it was. It was on the inside. And the blacks were sitting on the doorstep. And, of course, they stood up when we drove up, excited, telling us what had happened. But they really didn't say the school had blown up. They just told us that my brother was down here at a store that used to be right before you went down into the highway down there. And we went down there. They just said somebody's already brought Joe home. So we went down there to see what was going on. And the woman and man that owned that place had gone to London to see about their kids. They had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, that were younger than Joe and I. and they'd gotten her mother just to come sit in the store, you know, while they were gone. And so she was a little fat lady, and well, Cornelia and Ludi Dorsey, do you remember them?
Ludi.
Well, it's this.
Cornelia?
Uh-huh.
That's Uncle Corny.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
This is their mother,
Okay.
and that's her brother and sister. I mean,
Uh-huh.
her sister married the Coxes and
Ludi.
had the store. Anyway, I hadn't asked Joe about him coming home or anything, because those people from Tyler had preached, don't talk about him. So, about 6 months before Joe died, he was standing right there at that table, cleaning his glasses or something, just standing there. And I said, Joe, it's something I never talked to you about, and I will ask you some questions. He looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, I never knew anything about what happened from the time of the explosion until we picked you up down at Cox's store. And he said, well, Miss Kate was down there with me. Wasn't anybody down there with him. And she held me in her lap and rocked me. And Joe was in the 5th grade. And he said she kept trying to get me to go back and lay down on the bench that was across the back of the store. You remember those great big long benches they'd put someplace like that? She wanted me to go lay down on that bench, and I wouldn't go. She said, I want her to hold me. I was scared. And he said, you know how fat she was. She was soft. And anyway, that's when we picked him up. He was down there with her. And he went on then telling me that the Miss Lena Hunt lives up right before you get to Jacobs, was his teacher. He was in math class, I believe. And the front of the room came over in one sheet. It was a brick wall, and it all just came over like that. And it killed the teacher and killed all the children in the room except about 4. And Joe was sitting by a window, and he knocked the window out and got out, and there was a cousin of his in there, his age, and a little boy that lived on up the road, Billy Jean Thompson. Y'all may have met him at the museum because he works up there a lot and lives close by. Anyway, they got out. Everybody else in that room was killed. And I waited all those years to ask that question because those doctors had preached to us, do not talk about this, don't ask
I wonder
questions.
what was their logic behind that.
Psychologically, they thought it'd go away if we didn't talk about it, I guess.
Hey, psychologist.
Pretty early.
Lloyd Jr. was upstairs it was really like being on a 3rd floor because we had a floor like where Joe was. It was ground level. The windows were ground level. And the kids were up for going. They knew something, the house was rocking. They knew something, and they were willing to jump, but the teacher wouldn't jump, and they drug her out of there and held her and jumped. She got out all right. And I don't guess I'm sure she was sore from hitting the
Bet she
ground.
was.
But I don't think she was scratched or hurt at all. And I think all those kids got out of that room because I've heard them talk about it. They get together at reunions and things and talk about how they had to pull the teacher out. And she comes to the reunions. I've seen her every year. I've been there. I haven't been to many reunions because we lived away from here for a while, this and that. But she always talks to those that pulled her out of the building because she knows they saved her life. My class was supposed to be in the gym that period, and they were having a PTA meeting, and they told us to go out on the football field and sit down on the bleachers. Well, it was in March, the wind was blowing and the sun was shining and hot and everything. I would, if I had been in school, I would have been killed because I would never have gone to that bleachers, never gone to those bleachers and sat down out there. I've always done what I wanted to regardless of what the end results was, you know.
You listened to that voice.
And, yeah, I did. But anyway, I wouldn't have gone out and sat down in that sun on that football field. But right at the back door in the building that blew up was a restroom as large as this room. And it was big. It had kind of a little powder room, you know, and then the commodes and
That
everything.
was,
And that's where I would have been. I would never have gone to that football field. And I would have been killed if I had gone to school.
Well, Royce is